Hey, Rent to Retires, it's Matthew Seyoum here with another episode. And today we're here to talk more to the investor specifically. I'm joined with a friend of ours, Dan Goldstein. Dan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. I appreciate you joining us. So Dan is officially a rent to retire. He's just closed on his second property with us now,
Yep.
and wanted to have you on the show. Thank you for taking the time. We kind of wanted to dive right in just because we do have a lot of investors listening who can't wait to eventually get to your spot, right? Close on a couple of deals and is stabilizing those before he looks to the future. Um, so let's maybe start from the beginning. Dan, tell us a little bit. Tell us where you're located and what got you interested in rental real estate in the first place.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you guys having me. So originally from the Chicagoland area, my wife and I relocated down to the Orlando, Florida area about 12 years ago. And I actually have always wanted to get into real estate. Corporately, I work in corporate sales for a technology company out of Chicago, but you know, have not wanted to get myself out of the 9 to 5 and being reliant on somebody else for a paycheck. And have always felt real estate was going to be a great diversification. I feel like even more so, that's becoming more and more uh, the way to go, given how the dollar is doing. So I bought my first property actually in 2015. That was my first property with a buddy of mine, and the intention was to do a fix and flip. And we got in way over our heads, and it ended up costing way more than we thought, and it took way longer than we thought. Thankfully, we were able to use financing and basically get a refinance, cash out, and put a mortgage on that property, and have had a renter ever since. But then we basically did nothing for the last 8 years,
Gotcha.
and went through everything going on with the pandemic, and just continuing to realize I need to get more real estate. I need to get more real estate. So I got turned on to the BiggerPockets podcast, and during the BiggerPockets podcast, they do little promotional advertisements on a like between the segments, and typically I usually fast forward through the commercials and just get back to the podcast
Sure.
because I want to listen to this type of stuff, right? And I was working out, and I didn't have a chance to kind of fast forward based on what I was doing, so I was just listening, and I'm like, the advertisement for rent to retirement came out. I'm like, this is exactly what I need. Like, because I have a corporate job, I've got a wife, I've got responsibilities. I am the least handy person ever. So couldn't possibly like envision doing any type of like renovations myself. I don't know much about markets, where is good market to buy. I don't know anything about real estate, etc. But I knew I wanted to get into real estate and rent to retirement. It was just like, aha. And it really just jumped off the podcast at me, and I'm like, I need to look into this more. So that was what made me contact you guys, and how I got hooked up with Melissa, and that was where it started.
That's amazing. I love that. And we appreciate it just because we know a lot of investors are in your spot. I love what you mentioned. I personally been investing since 2017, and I I still don't know all the tools that some of my brother-in-laws and uncles use on a day-to-day basis, right? I'm not the handiest guy, but that doesn't really deter us. And so I like that can-do attitude. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk about that a little bit more. Where was, because again, you're two deals in now with us.
Yeah. Mhm.
So you're in Florida.
Yep.
Where was your first property, and then where was your second?
Yeah. So last year, it's about almost a year ago to the days when I first heard about it, and I contacted Melissa, and my she kind of I used the guidance from you guys, because you guys have put the whole I kind of call it an assembly line in place, right? They've got the connections with the builders, or the people that have done the renovations. You guys have got the connections with the lending partners, with uh the home inspectors, with
Yeah.
the property man. It was just everything was already just like you said, turnkey. That was the best word to describe it. And I didn't know what would be a good market though to invest in. I had thought of like Indianapolis, Oklahoma City, certain places in Columbus, Ohio, and Melissa's, obviously we talked through all the stuff and she gave me all the different options and the different incentive programs that different builders were offering, etc. And based upon the price point that I was looking at, based upon the current incentives, based upon the uh, rent appreciation in certain markets, based upon demographics and uh, the type of people that were moving into the certain areas and all that kind of stuff, she felt like the properties in the Birmingham area would be the best fit for me. So we decided to proceed, and we bought a property in Birmingham, and it was brand new construction, so it was brand new, and within 30 days of closing, had a tenant already in place,
Oh,
and so it was yeah. I mean, she hooked me up with the property management people. She hooked me up with the lending people. It was an extremely smooth process, and I was like, okay, I want to try to do this at least once a year.
okay.
So my plan was to this summer circle back and buy another property. And my intention was just to buy another one in Alabama, but I got one of the advertisements about a special incentive that was going on with properties in Texas market. So I was like, well, I'm not quite at a year, but I can potentially take advantage of this. So let's look into it. And so I got in touch with her, and we talked about what was going on in Texas and the different options, and decided to go ahead and buy a property in San Antonio, Texas.
Love it.
So now I've got, and then that one was already rented, so it already had a tenant. So literally, I just got rent. I closed like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've already got my first rent check collected by the property management company. So
I love
I mean, literally, what they talk about mailbox money. That's what it is.
The cheapest way to form an LLC can become the most expensive mistake later. A lot of real estate investors use a bargain filing service, check the box, and assume they're protected. But when a tenant issue dispute or lawsuit comes up, that's when the structure and the guidance behind it really matters. If you're going to own a rental, this is not the place to cut corners. That's why Rent to Retirement partners with NCH. With more than 32 years of experience and over 250,000 businesses formed, NCH takes a done right the first time approach to business structuring asset protection. And with Premier LLC package, you can get more than just an LLC. You also get Premier coaching included at no extra cost. Beyond forming your real estate LLC the right way, you'll have access to experienced business advisors who can help guide you through compliance, tax strategies, estate and succession planning, and business credit, so you're never left trying to figure it out on your own. Premier Coaching by NCH is more than a service. It's expert support systemized by investors who want to build the right foundation, stay protected, and grow with confidence. If you want more confidence in how your rentals are owned, go to nchinc.com/RTR. That's nchinc.com/RTR and get your free Wyoming Advantage guide that tells you why you should protect your real estate investments with a Wyoming LLC. Right now, major home builders across Texas and Alabama are sitting on completed inventory that they must move before July 1st. Rather than cut list prices, they're handing buyers up to 15% in concessions. That's up to $48,000 that you can use to buy down your interest rate, cover closing costs, or both. These are brand new turnkey homes with builder warranties and property management already in place. Our partnership with Rent to Retirement gives you direct access to that pipeline. BLUPRINT Home Loans handles the financing, and we know exactly how to structure those deals to maximize your cash flow. The window closes June 30th. Visit renttoretirement.com to browse current inventory and reach out to BLUPRINT at blueprinthomeloans.com/rent-to-retirement or call 888-343-1043 to talk financing. Funny, I appreciate that. Funny enough, we currently have all of those mid-year incentives going both in Alabama with the new builder and with Texas. So I'm glad you guys were able to communicate around that. Um,
Yeah, I just saw the email about the Alabama. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, good to know. I'll just, I'm sure next time when the timing's right for my next one, there'll be another opportunity to strike.
Love that. So something that is kind of jumping off the screen to me, at least as I'm talking to you, is you very much sound like I'm gonna figure this out somehow kind of a guy, right? It doesn't sound like no deters you, or hey, well, what about this and what about this? What about this? There's a level of asking to figure out or to get clarity, right? And then
Yeah.
there's all your own research as well. Can you talk to maybe the how you felt before owning any turnkey real estate, right? So somewhere in between that 7, 8 years that you weren't doing anything at all, right? You've already tried to flip something, it didn't work out in your favor, and
Yeah.
then you kinda had to take yourself off the pavement and try again. Can
Yeah.
you talk to that a little bit? Because we have a lot of investors that listen to our podcast or look at our inventory, and it's not that they've never done real estate, it's that they've done it and it sucked, right? For
Yeah.
lack of a better word, like, it was terrible, and they wanna try it again. They know
Yeah.
it's good for them long term. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, and I should so obviously that property that I did buy in 2015,
Yeah,
for what we were intending for it to do, it did not turn out well, but
sure.
it did end up turning out okay because we bought a property at a really low price, and obviously the market is significantly appreciated down here in Florida, so we kept that. I think the biggest thing I've heard with real estate is if you, it's very similar to the stock market. It's not timing, but it's time in the market, right? So if you can play the long game, it's probably going to work out in your favor. So the fact that we were able to hang on to that property, it's turned out to be a really great investment. And I even was able to refinance it back in 2020 when the rates were super low, and now that property we paid off in a few years. So that worked out really well. So, but you're right. Figuring out mentality has always been like kind of my mantra. And that, I'm my job is in sales, so I'm not going to let no deter me. I know that that's no is a passing through point in terms of getting to where it is that I want to go. And I just never lost sight of how wealth creation can happen through asset accumulation in real estate and the tax advantages and things like that that you know, I knew about, but the more I had a friend back from home, and he had been doing a lot of burrs and building out a real estate portfolio, and it just kind of brought it back to the front of my mind of like, gosh, I need to get my hands on some more properties. That's where I'm really going to be able to create long term wealth and set myself up for retirement and not have to rely on anybody else. So it just put that as a fire in front of me. So that was kind of what happened, maybe 2 years ago, 18 months ago, and got me back onto like looking into real estate. And I think the biggest thing is most people struggle with, myself included, was you got to have all these different connections. You feel like you got to have the contractors and you got to have the real estate agent who's involved in investment real estate, not just like, you know, traditional, like for residential purposes. And I didn't have those connections. I didn't have the time to go network and build those connections and all that kind of stuff. So, finding something like rent to retirement, like it just really was a godsend because it took all the heavy lifting out of it, in my opinion.
Oh, I love that. I appreciate that. That that really goes maybe understated a little bit, right? I can absolutely understand someone's anxiety around, hey, I want to go invest in Texas, but I live in Oregon, right? Where would I even start? Do I just
Right.
Google general contractors and hope for the best, right? Uh,
Exactly.
that there's a lot of nervousness to that. So I can absolutely appreciate that. I thank you for kind of walking us through that a little more. Now, about your deal specifically, our inventory is about 60/40. We're really open about it, right? 60% of it is new construction, 40% of it is turnkey rehabs. Rehabs being older homes that have been renovated within the last 6
Mhm.
months. Now, before we even get there, what it sounds like, hey, I tried to flip it myself. Now I realize I need turnkey. Okay. So you've
Yes.
made that step. How did we decide on new construction in particular? Because
Sure.
you're not alone, right? I would say a large majority of our investors are pivoting a little bit more towards new construction, generally speaking, right? But different things fit for different investors.
Yeah.
And so why did you feel like new construction fit for you in particular?
I think when I was talking with about Melissa, since it was my first time doing a deal,
Mhm.
plus the fact that there was the incentive that they was attached to it, I think it was like
Right.
a 10% incentive. So like
Yeah. That's
that was like, I mean, it's like free money, right? I was basically building immediate equity into the property day one. And so a brand new home, I know I'm not going to have to touch this thing for the most part for probably 10 years, other than maybe, minor things, but no major systems issues for 10 years. Having that immediate equity is going to help me get that much closer to buying my next one, right? So, um, I think those were the main things that got me to lean towards the new construction route to start with. Was it was my first one through the program and the incentive attached to it.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense, and a lot of our investors are in that same boat as far as the incentives, right? It's hard to pass up a property that's gonna you're under contract at 300, it's gonna appraise at 300, but now you're getting an additional $30,000, right?
Right.
It's substantial, so I can absolutely appreciate that. Now, when you were looking at it, so our definition of diversity is typically 3 to 5 properties and 3 to 5 markets. You in your own boldness, right? We're saying, hey, I'm going where the money is, right? I'm going to go where the investment makes the most sense. So you did one in Alabama, one in Texas, and now you
Right.
kind of have two options when you
Yes.
shop again next year.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit, right? You been to Alabama?
I mean, not for this, but I have been to Alabama, but
Okay,
never to visit.
okay.
I've never visited either property, so
Gotcha.
I think it's really cool. I mean, obviously it takes a little bit of faith, but my wife is a little bit more. She's not shy about making investments. Loves the idea of doing real estate, but is like you know, I really put my trust in the fact that the legwork that you guys had done and all that kind of stuff, and BiggerPockets stamp of approval behind rent to retirement was also a big piece of mind for me. But now I have choices, like you said. Now I can say, do I want to build out a Texas portfolio? Do I want to build out an Alabama portfolio? And I'll be able to kind of compare the properties' performance against each other. You know, Alabama has much lower property taxes, but you get less home for your dollar comparatively, right? Texas, I'm getting more rent and a bigger footprint from a property standpoint, but again, much higher property. So like, there's different pros and cons, and I now get to evaluate that. What makes most sense for me is the tax benefits here. Is the price appreciation better here? So I'm really kind of excited about that. To now I have a couple markets that I can uh, potentially put properties into both.
What you're saying there is so important, Dan. For anyone listening, I want to confirm Dan is doing pros and cons in 2 markets that he owns property in, right? This is not a Google side by side search hypothetical based on general numbers. He has closing documents to confirm with, right? You have actual tenant leases to look at. So that's amazing. I think sometimes we get so caught up in the hypothetical that we don't actually make the action or
Yeah.
actually the first step. So that's important. And the other piece, while we are so grateful and appreciate people's trust in us like yourself, we also like to make sure that we have our T's crossed and our I's dotted with inspections, appraisals, right? There was a real property that you purchased. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was all validated. So I guess let me ask this then, Dan, as you've kind of come out of the fog of or excuse me, the dust has settled from those purchases, things have stabilized. Now we're kind of waiting until the next time you're working with us.
Mhm.
What would you say to the investor who's on the sideline, whether they've done it in the past, didn't love it, and want to get back in, or they've never done it and are just itching to try it for the first time? Speak to 2 things, both what you did to get back into the game, right? And then maybe to 1 or 2 of the biggest concerns or hesitations.
Yeah. So I think similarly to what I said earlier is that real estate, land, assets, it's going to continue to appreciate. The more that the dollar deflates, the better that the real estate appreciates. Is what I can uh, is my take. So it's better to get involved sooner than later. Yeah. And at the end of the day, in 10, 15, 20 years, if this is a long term investment, whether I got in a couple $1,000s above or below, nobody really ever going to be good enough to catch the bottom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
get in now. Don't wait. They what do they call it? Analysis paralysis. Like don't get hung up and on all that. I would say get involved sooner than later. And you know what? if it's you paid a little bit higher and the market goes down a little bit, guess what? In 10 years, you won't even worry about that. It won't even be a thing. So I would say get involved sooner than later to those that are kind of sitting on the sidelines. And um, somebody who had a bad experience, one of the times doesn't mean all the times, right? Just because it happened once doesn't mean it's going to happen every time. And if you're not going to quit, you're only going to learn, right? So the experience that you had is just that, it's experience. So you can win or you can learn. You only lose if you quit. You stay out of the game.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Cause I think those are really poignant words, especially understanding that I love what you said. Years from now, if I was a little high or a little low by a few $1,000, we'll never know, right? Because the investment will have well matured beyond the $2,000 that you felt like you missed out on 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dan, for taking the time to talk with us today. And thank you all out there for joining us to get yourself educated. We'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching the Rent to Retirement YouTube channel. Check out some of our other videos, like this one, or this one here.